Everybody on three.
Hopefully.
1, 2, 3. Oh,
we screwed it up.
2 or 3.
We're in the same room and we can't get it.
We're in the same room. Boys, we are back in the studio.
Again.
And I'm going to cut this out, but be careful not to breathe into your mics a whole lot.
Yeah.
I just did that nice riff.
No, I'm going to keep that part in. I'm just going to, yeah.
Was I breathing?
No, I just heard it before. It's just something to keep aware of.
Jeremy, stop breathing.
Hold your breath the rest of the episode. I'm going to do this whole episode in one breath.
All right.
Back in the studio. Our equipment getting a little bit better every time, which is good. Hopefully this sounds great. Jeremy's holding his breath because I warned him about mouth noise.
Yep.
Little recording expertise.
He can't get too close either with that burly beard of his.
His beard creates more noise. Andrew and I have it easy.
I'm trying to decide if I should shave it or keep it going. It's kind of at that weird stage. Mike could grab.
You did the hair. You got the hair trimmed.
You should keep it going for Lent.
I think
that's a tease.
Oh, I like it.
That's a tease for this week or next week.
Who knows?
Okay.
At this point, I am David.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Jeremy.
Oh, you bent over to get a drink real fast.
And we threw it to you.
That'll show you.
But we are back in the studio. This is our first one doing a physical, a present recording. I don't know what I'm saying.
Feels good
present,
to you guys.
Another time in the same room.
And like the wives are hanging out downstairs.
Apparently, I forgot how to introduce stuff when we're in the same
room.
David,
we're a podcast.
My goodness.
Introduce us. Say, hey, we're a podcast.
What do we say?
Andrew,
lock it up.
We're done.
We need a new host.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start.
Okay.
Hi, this is Jeremy hosting.
Welcome to the podcast.
Three Brothers Talking. This is Three Brothers Talking. We're off to a great start.
So it's a long intro.
Yeah. A long intro for what is supposed to be a short episode.
Yeah.
But we are going to talk about some Lent things, and we're also going to talk about Twitter beef, because I think it's a recurring segment on our show now where we're going to talk about the things that people are getting mad about.
Because it's every day.
Yes, because if you ever tried...
With all due respect section.
With all due respect. I was going to call it the Twitter stinks section.
That works too.
But what you notice when you start making podcasts or you start writing, sometimes you feel like, I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to podcast about. The great news is that these days on Twitter, there's always a conflict to weigh in on. So we'll get to this stuff later.
Somebody always tweets something bad.
Somebody is always making people mad. And sadly enough, in the Christian world, it's the same exact way.
Which is amazing. You only get 140 characters.
No, you get 280 now.
Oh,
yeah.
Double mad.
Double the outrage.
Jeremy, are you not on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter every once in a while. It's basically just photos of me.
Honestly, he's doing...
Or like, hey, look at this, and then we're done.
He's doing the best out of all of us.
It's because you can hit the share button on Twitter on
Instagram.
I scroll Twitter way more. I'm never on Facebook. So.
Yeah, Facebook sucks.
We'll get into this later. First, though, we've got business.
Oh yeah, we're a business.
We're listen up, listeners. By the way, that's something I've been on the radio. I was supposedly professional at it for a while.
Allegedly.
That's something they tell you to never say.
Listen
and I just said it. No, like to address the listener as listener.
It's like breaking the
something you never
wall.
do.
Like you don't do it.
You're supposed to just say you, and you're not supposed to. It's supposed to feel like a conversation with them. But anyway. I was bad then.
You could be telling us to listen.
I was bad then. I'm bad now. What can I say?
Some things never change.
Yes. The only difference is, now we put our money out to do this.
You don't get paid for this,
and people don't pay me to do it.
Yep.
However,
you're not getting paid.
We do have a business deal to discuss because a favorite company of ours, Musk Ox, has extended an offer to our listeners. So if you're listening, this applies to you. We have this clothing company called Musk Ox. You've heard us talk about them before. They're a really awesome company. They make what they call rugged and modern clothes. That's their goal. Ridiculously high quality, rugged, modern clothes for men. And they make hoodies, they make flannels, they make t-shirts, they make hats that Jeremy and I were both eyeing and wanting to get.
I was telling AJ about one the other day. Now it reminded me of him.
Not the AJ on the podcast. Different AJ. Yes. But yeah, we have a code for you guys to use all the way through the month of March. So it's Brothers15, all one word. I don't think caps matter, but it is all capitals if that matters. I don't think it does.
Yeah.
But Brothers15, 15% off. And you can get a shirt, you can get a hoodie, you can get a t-shirt, a hat, whatever you want to get. They've got tons of great stuff.
I think I'm going for a t-shirt.
I'm really a fan of the hoodie. I'm trying to decide the hoodie or the hat, or why not both?
I've got a flannel already. The flannel is very warm. It's basically a coat that you can wear like a
we
shirt.
have one of the sweatshirts. I don't remember which one.
You guys have the sweatshirt that's got, I think it's the crew neck.
I think
crew
it's
neck
a normal
sweatshirt.
crew neck.
Yes.
But it's really nice.
Their hoodie's really nice. The hoodie's got this hidden zipper pocket in it, but it's great. I mean, they work best if you're actually a manly man who's like
I was
hunting
gonna
or
wear it to the
fishing,
barn the other day just to prove it.
going to a barn to ride a horse.
Why
But
not
if
pick up
you know
both?
what, sometimes I wear mine just to sit at my desk in my office.
You know, you can be a man anywhere. In America,
Exactly. So
doing anything.
before we get into that Jeremy's
that's a
I
hinting
was
at,
trying.
That's a good segue.
Brothers15, use it throughout the month of March. If you like the podcast, one of the great ways to encourage us and to help us is whenever we get companies helping out like this, to go and pick something up from them, use the code so that they know that it's a productive relationship.
Yep.
And we like these guys. Like, just honestly, I think they make really good quality products. So
I'm pretty excited about being our first. Like, besides Jared's awesome sponsorship.
besides Jared's sponsorship.
I'm really excited. This is like one of our first.
Exactly. Absolutely. So Brothers15, it's gomuscox.com is the website.
Yeah.
And,
Muskox.com doesn't get you there.
No, I don't think it will. Maybe that's just pictures of animals.
That's what I thought it'd be.
But
It's not. I don't know what it is.
either way, all this info will be in the show notes. And we are going to talk about being a manly man.
Coming from
Because-
three of us.
Coming from the three of us, obviously, the gold standard of
We
masculinity.
consider ourselves men.
Yes.
Just to clarify.
We don't need to get into that whole part of things right now.
It's another episode.
Yeah.
But this is also the Twitter sucks portion of the episode, or Twitter stinks, if we are going to censor ourselves a little bit. Because these days on Twitter, everybody's getting mad, and even in the Christian world, somebody's always getting mad.
Yep.
So I am trying to get off Twitter a little bit more. Actually, over the next, I don't know, however many weeks, I'm trying to really scale it back, because what I realized is on Twitter, there's always fights going on. There's always stuff. And most time it doesn't matter a whole lot, but people are mad anyways. And even in the Christian world, this is kind of the case. So we have this tweet from Owen Strahan.
Straken.
Is that it
It's
officially?
Strachan.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Like
don't know how to say
Strakan.
it.
Like,
So he works at Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, writes a lot of stuff, is a smart guy, generally speaking. And I think his name is pronounced Strahan, but I'm not sure about that.
I like Straken.
Okay. Either way, Owen. He writes this tweet, and it caused just a huge uproar. So this is the second time, boys, that we're wading into a hot take.
Hot take.
We did it once at the beginning of the year. We're going back into hot takes now. So it says this, quote, "Men today are often soft, weak, passive, and unprotective. But physical discipline is key for men. Hear Paul, I batter my body and make it my slave, 1 Corinthians 9:27. Christic manhood is protective, sharp, and watchful. The man who is willfully soft physically is often soft spiritually." End quote. I just want to be
Boom.
clear. That's the end of the quote
Yeah.
from Owen. So we just wanted to give what we think about this tweet and hopefully not contribute to the annoying parts of it. My first thought when I read this tweet was that I've never heard the term Christic before.
Yeah. And I saw like all the comments about it too, and I was just like, well, what is this? Is this supposed to be a phrase that I should know?
I didn't know the name Christic. That's new to me. But Jeremy or Andrew, what were your first thoughts after you saw it?
Well, so I was looking through the comments because originally Andrew had mentioned VeggieTales, and that was funny because I later saw what you meant. I don't know. Looking through the tweet, I don't like it. I think looking at the context of what he's been tweeting lately, it fits in there. And I get what he's trying to do and correlate with discipline and manhood, because yes, manhood in Christ is we should be protective and sharp and watchful, but that is also something I'd say in a lot of ways women should be protective and watchful of like their own families.
Yeah.
It's a different thing, different role in some ways, but I don't know. I don't like the taking Paul out of context.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest gripe with
my first two thoughts were, one, taking a verse completely out of context there.
Yeah, I don't think that verse is talking
verse
about
is on with lifting 315.
Yeah.
No.
To be fair, this tweet doesn't talk about lifting 315.
No.
That's a bit of an import into his tweet.
You're putting into it.
And that's what, but I think also the other part that just stuck out was just like, I read the tweet and I was just like, wow, like, how does he expect to not get torn apart by putting this out in woke Twitter today?
Yes.
And like how so many people are, like a lot of the climate has obviously shifted to be so like anti-manliness and making little of the that whole, like mansplaining type argument and all that.
Oh yeah, Twitter,
and I'm just like,
this is red meat for Twitter.
And I'm just like, like this guy's got to know that like he's gonna get torn apart for putting this out there. So
absolutely.
Well, and he's not wrong. I mean, everyone would say like there's a I was watching something the other day from one of the guys who does Top Gear with Troy, and he has like Man Lab or something like that, and he teaches because men nowadays don't know how to do simple tasks.
It's true.
And part of that's because the generation before us didn't do a very good job of teaching us, but also we don't have the drive to learn it necessarily. We don't have the need to in some respects. The world has changed, but also like sitting there like yes, like over generalities, most of the time men are different than the generation before us.
Yeah.
And that's not
I would
totally
say softer.
bad. Yeah, I'd say softer in a lot of ways. And in many ways, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
I would say either.
That's where like his sentiment, I don't think is like it's not completely off base in my opinion. It's just like the use of the verse is completely kind of outlandish.
I think it's one of these things you just grab for. Like,
it's like he just kind of grabbed it and plucked it. But I think I was like, I don't think he's meaning anything that's that off base, at least from like I'm not saying that I'm not saying that obviously if you're not strong or whatever, like his sentiment there, I'm saying that with the trend of today, there you can see that reality regardless of the man. Yeah.
Well, I think if let me just step in for a second. I think that the verse is not what that verse is talking about.
Yeah.
I think if you want to get across the idea, what I found interesting is that it is definitely distinctively the man's side of the bargain to be protective in a very specific way.
Yes.
I think all of us would agree. Men are supposed to be the ones fighting in wars. Men are supposed to be the ones primarily given with physical protection. I think God made us that way. That's just that doesn't mean
general,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, that doesn't
over the generality.
Yes, the top, the strongest women in the world could beat me up. I'm aware of that.
Yeah,
but that's a different.
But as far as basic genetics goes, yeah.
Well, and I think as you read Scripture, you see those principles at play. God never sends the women to war. God sends men to go to war.
Yeah, and
things like that. So there's a reality that's there that like. Men, and it isn't good for men to be soft.
Yeah.
I do think that there's a great amount of trouble that we see around us in the world today that does come from men being soft.
Yeah.
Like not being, and I think the problem is if we have to take, this is the problem with so much discussion today is like, people want to force you to take the whole meaning that they want to give to you. So you read this and then you think, oh, Owen's saying you have to be able to bench 300 to be a good Christian man. Right. It's like I don't think he said that in the tweet.
Well, I don't think he even thinks that.
I don't think, because I bet you he can't do it. Because very few men can bench 300
and some
pounds.
people get
That's
bad
a lot
of
of
shape, like if you have a physical ailment that you can't do that or you're not a stronger person.
Yes,
obviously I'm going to assume, because I don't know him, but
Yes.
that's not what he means here.
Yeah,
that's not at all what he's getting
some
at.
people responding of like, well, my brother is in a wheelchair. Do you think he's soft? And it's like, I think that's
and
not what he's saying.
softness has to do with like and doctrine and emotion stuff.
Yes.
Talking about passivity.
Yes, and I think,
True.
and I also think that Owen wouldn't. Some people would maybe read this tweet and say, oh, he wants that like the machismo picture of man that like don't have any emotions and don't be super strong and go hunting every day. Like I don't think, and this is just at this point we're just sharing our opinions. That's not really being like necessarily a man. It is good for a man to be both. He needs to be tender and meek. I would say meek better than tender because I think that Christ talks about this. It is good for a man to be meek and soft. Meek, I would say, is softness in the appropriate way.
Yeah.
At the appropriate times but at the same time, a man has to be hard and resolute and like unflinching
at other times. Yeah.
And so it is good that some of that is a part of manhood that like God has given.
And if you go back to the first sin in Genesis, Genesis 3, the fall, Adam's biggest issue is he became passive and allowed and didn't step in and wasn't protective of his wife.
Yeah.
In the moment she needed him to be there. Mm-hmm. Granted, yes, Eve sinned, but the curse first falls through Adam, God says. And why? Because he did not do his job.
Yeah. Yep. I think the bigger idea that Owen is trying to get at, this is what I think. This is what I would say. The good thing that I see in that tweet is the idea of discipline. And again, some people will be like, "Oh, you're saying women don't need to be disciplined?" Yes, women also need to be disciplined.
We all need discipline.
But he's trying to address it to men, and it is definitely a thing that like you should be a disciplined person. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't let your passions control you. Yeah. Like you should be in control of your passions, of your impulses. You should be disciplined, and part of that has to do with physical things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the same people that got really mad at his tweet, I bet a bunch of those people would tell you, like, if you're depressed, they'd say, make sure you go to a good counselor because, the body and the soul and the mind are all linked in your emotional life and your, like they would rightly understand, as we would all understand, that that those things are linked. We're not just spirit and not just body. Yeah. It's all linked. So at the same time, you can't then say, oh, the discipline that you show physically has nothing to do with the discipline you may or may not have spiritually.
Well, and Andrew, you're in the same boat I am, especially having a family. The easiest thing to come out of your life, and I know me, like I used to be avid working out, and that's something I'm trying to get back into. But since having a kid and a house and a family and a new job, that's the first thing that usually goes.
Yeah.
Like, but besides like reading and stuff, which is also very important.
Yeah. Should be disciplined
just
there
being
too.
like, hey, I need to go out and work out. Mm-hmm. And granted, that's my own fault, and I need to take more responsibility of that. But I mean, I'm sure you can agree with that.
Well, it's just, I mean, we've talked about it even on this pod of like, just how, how difficult it is when your time is quickly spent when you're in, when you're in the parenting and husband and, provider role and all that. So yeah, it is definitely.
So
second that.
Again, bad parts of the tweet. Again, this part I don't think is in the tweet. Maybe it's implied there, but I think you have to do some heavy implying to get to like, oh, he's saying men have to be really strong.
Well, I think he tweeted something not long ago that had like a list of manhood qualities.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't look that up.
It was just
yeah. And but most of I did see that. Yeah. Most of those were about obviously character, like
right.
Yeah, and things like that. So it is the official position of this podcast that no, you don't have to be in peak physical shape to be a good man. But at the same time, it's not something to be totally written off as if it has nothing to do with, your life. It's part of that whole thing. So I think I came away from that just kind of mad at the people that were like piling on. Because you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I felt like a few years ago, a tweet like this would have been responded to with oh, I think that he's just a little bit off. Or like, hey, Owen's got some different ideas about working out than I do. But instead, this was like Owen is a misogynist or something.
Yeah.
Like Owen, thinks that all weak men physically are automatically weak spiritually.
Right.
We're so ready to like attack other
literally,
Christians.
especially today. That's just what Twitter is largely
Well, that's what
built
everything
for
is
today.
now. Like I was happy right there talking about how Cluck works at a school, and he goes, most of me working at a school is actually walking on eggshells all day.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And it's the fact that it's no better amongst Christians just is really sad to me. Like when we're dealing with other Christians, when I read that tweet, they're like we said, like we think the verse is taken out of context. We think it's probably probably shouldn't be a tweet, maybe.
Yeah.
Because you probably just need more words to really spell out what you're getting to.
Yeah.
To get it out well. It should probably be a thread, not just a single tweet. But the fact is, like, with that, we should be able to just say, he didn't say anything heretical. He didn't say anything. I don't think there's anything that was wildly harmful in that tweet. And I am not 100% on board with the tweet.
Yeah.
But I didn't come away with it thinking like, oh, he is like,
there's one problem with like obviously that, like we said earlier, that's like red meat to put out there to the Twitterverse.
Yeah.
But there's even in like that whole argument and people coming back at him, like there's even what obviously we can't judge completely, but there's as far as professing Christians that are latching on and replying back to this and refuting certain things instead of like, why can't we just like take that opinion and then show some grace?
Or just move on.
Just scroll.
Yeah. Or just scroll through.
Just say, oh yeah, okay.
But
Or
because
let's
like
talk about it.
even those so-called Christian voices are just mixed in with all of the other the worldly positions of like anti manliness and misogyny and all that.
And it's there are people that just go overboard on Twitter. That's what we're forced to do when it's just this medium by which to talk nonstop and to weigh in on these controversies that we honestly don't really have that deep of opinions on. But I don't know, maybe this is a bigger topic for another time, but when I think about his description of manhood being sharp and watchful and protective, I just think that's an idea that Christians should be able to get behind as far as like, I do want men to be disciplined. And I do think, to go into a different branch of this discussion, people all the time, people talk about, and they rightly mourn the statistics about men and pornography in the church, right? Mm-hmm. All the time. And we should mourn that because it's ridiculous and it's bad.
Yeah.
And it's sin, and it's sin amongst us that we need to take care of. Mm-hmm. But what is that? That is a misunderstanding of men misunderstanding themselves, misunderstanding who women are, what sex is. It's ultimately men not having discipline.
Yeah.
In allowing passions and desires to rule their bodies.
Yeah.
And follow, passions and things like that. So it is, and there is a reality, I think, that discipline in one area of your life bleeds over and creates discipline in other areas of your life.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, and that's completely true.
Well, that was like just from a logistical standpoint, discipline over even the little things of like, if like we're saying with time management, that allow like discipline in that aspect will not allow you the freedom to then be ruled by certain passions and other aspects because you have discipline over how you're going to spend your time.
Well, and that's something, we could do an episode maybe about disciplining our minds and renewing your minds, because that's something like discipline is something that if you're disciplined enough, you're not really probably worried about this tweet at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
If this doesn't have any like me, I'm like, okay, and I'm not a very I'm fairly disciplined, but I can grow in that. But I'm like, okay, I get where you're getting at, and I'm just gonna move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the best things I heard, Paul Maxwell does a lot of stuff writing. He's on a bit of a hiatus right now, but he does a lot of stuff about manhood.
Yeah.
And I want to get him on our podcast at some point. If he ever makes a return to the podcast world, I want to get him and talk to him about manhood. He literally started a podcast and then he stopped it after 2 months and said, "Hey, I'm taking a break through Easter," just because he kind of felt like he was not being disciplined.
Yeah.
And he wanted like 3 months to focus his mind on God and on his work and stuff. And so, but he's written books about it. He wrote a book called When Your 20s Are Darker Than You Expect, that it's actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
But he talks about masculinity a lot, and he did a podcast episode. I'll see if I can find it and link to it. But it was all about the idea that people, he used the example of people on Twitter and how people these days think that they're strong because they're like tweeting back at people. And he's like, no, you are very weak if you allow someone on Twitter to make you angry. You are a very weak person. Mm-hmm. And that hit me in the eyes because I think I'm getting better at that. But I used to be so bothered if I saw people expressing an opinion that I thought was unbiblical or something, especially if it was someone in my life, especially if it was someone in my church, because it would bother me because I'd be like, I just want everybody to be perfectly discipled, right?
Yeah.
Like I want everyone to think, I want to think perfectly in line with the Bible. And I want everybody in my church, everybody in my family to also think perfectly in line with the Bible. Now, granted, I can't presume that I am arrived there. So I know that. But it would still bother me if I see somebody, tweet or post something on Facebook and it just would break my heart. Or if I saw them say something. And then what I realized was like, that's a lack of discipline in myself. Is like, I need to be able, my emotions cannot be dependent on other people, what they express, what they think.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you might think that you're like a crusader for truth as you reply to tweets and stuff, you're also throwing gas on fires, and you're also throwing at least gas on your own fire because it just makes you more mad.
Well, and also the way the algorithm works is if you talk about it more, it gets more views.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're literally feeding the fire.
And it'll show up more on your own timeline and stuff.
Yeah,
because you
And
replied
it's
to
not
it.
helpful. Like I said, like it's not helpful because it just gets mixed in to all of the non-Christian voices that are already going to latch on to the red meat.
They're just mad that he said the word man.
Yeah. And like,
Yeah,
and then
you can't even say that.
yours, like we're saying, is just adding more fuel to the fire in that thread or whatever, and ultimately not beneficial to either you or, in that case, your fellow Christian that we're presuming. Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you just saying like good try, Owen, but next time just don't take Paul out of context? Is that
Yeah.
really
I would
where
just
we're at
say,
here?
I would say find a different verse.
Yeah.
Or if you would just want to say, I don't know if there is a specific verse, but this just seems like a general
Not
idea.
everything needs a verse.
Yeah,
Like
the Trinity doesn't have a verse where it says Trinity in the Bible, but it's a good, very biblical concept, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that him not quoting the verse
I think
probably
if
would
you
have
said a
saved him a
biblical
lot.
concept would be blank.
Yeah,
You're fine.
You'd still get some people saying
but
"Well, you're saying I got to be strong to be a man."
I wouldn't have as big and like really any like
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's not a smart thing to tweet in 2020, but who cares?
On the other hand, it's not wrong to tweet it. It's just the only thing that makes us really mad on this podcast is if you do throw out a verse and it's out of context. That's what we're all about. Us in this room, we can't purport to be the smartest theologians or anything, but we do believe because we've been raised to think this way. You better be careful when you start quoting scripture. You better be using it responsibly.
You better not be using it irresponsibly.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think he could have saved himself a whole world of hurt and probably spelled out like
some characters.
disclaimer, like reply to it and just say disclaimer. You don't have to be super ripped. I'm just meaning be a disciplined, watchful, vigilant man.
Person.
Yeah. And I mean, people again will be mad at him. Even some Christians will be mad at him. Even some Christians that consider themselves complementarian will be mad that he just assigned protectiveness to man. And they'll say, well, women can be protective too. It's like, yes,
we're not
saying we're not saying women can't be protective. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying that
the primary role.
Yeah. Well, and we're also just saying that just because God's in Scripture, it does seem that God emphasizes the call of man to be protective. That doesn't mean it negates the call of a woman to also be protective, but it does mean it is very specifically called out. And like, and not only called out, it's valued and called a good thing.
Yeah.
It is called a good thing in Scripture.
And going back to the fact that if you have some kind of issue where you can't be the physical protector, there's still plenty of other ways you're protector of your family.
Absolutely.
Like spiritually, emotionally, mentally.
It's never just one thing.
Yeah, it's never. And that's where like we want to boil down to we want to boil down a lot of things like providing. I want to provide, boil down to money. That's it. And I still struggle with. That's not what it's about.
Yep. You can be a very godly man, no matter how much you weigh, no matter this, that, or the other. The question is just, are you a disciplined man? And that's a. If we're honest, that's an uncomfortably high bar. If we really think about it.
I think that's a question we all need to take out sometime. Just to literally sit there and
I'm
think.
sorry I asked it because I'm thinking already of parts of my life.
I'm going to tell you an answer after the podcast.
I'm going to answer it on the podcast. Here's all the ways I'm lacking
I'm really
discipline.
proud. Well, yeah, right
but
there.
It's absolutely, I understand that. And we'll talk more about discipline a little bit because our next episode is going to be about Lent. And we're going to kind of just like jump right into that. Although this will be split up into 2 episodes. But I just think of Lent in terms of the discipline is the aspect we're going to talk about with it.
Yeah.
So
Andrew had a record.
Andrew, I wish I had a sound effect. Because this is...
He texted us today saying he had a reco.
This is the air horn. Pew, pew,
Yeah,
pew,
this
pew.
is maybe the first time Andrew has ever had a reco.
You guys are going to
Ready
be
to go.
really disappointed, but I was just like...
Is it going to be to your taxes?
Go to the
'Cause
gym.
I thought that's what it was going to
Oh, it
be.
better not be
No.
go to the gym.
Guys, guess what? So for those of you listening, outskirts of other parts of America, but we are based in Ohio. We are...
It's true.
We are
Midwest.
Crew SC supporters. And we are Columbus till we die.
That's correct.
And it is officially Crew Week, boys.
It is Crew
So
Week.
the recommendation is MLS is back this week. Crew kickoff Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
MLS and XFL.
Yeah. So we've got that going on, and I'm excited. Crew are here to stay, and
Yeah, we recommend soccer.
soccer's
We do
good.
recommend soccer.
And I'm going to be watching Sunday. So
Yeah, and this is the first year in a long time that we actually have some hope for the Columbus Crew
yeah,
in terms of on-field
We
success.
We do have some sadness though with Will Trapp departing.
Yeah, Will Trapp's gone.
I'm all right with it.
Hometown guy. I mean, it's good for the team.
It
and
is
it's
good for the
him.
team.
I know
It's good for
him.
both.
Yeah, I was like, I know he's good. Yeah, but
It's more just like this one of the staples that leave your team.
Yeah.
Like it's a great thing for both parties.
I'm ready because we have a lot of new faces in the lineup, a lot of new potential. So I'm excited.
Go Crew.
Andrew got a recommendation.
So, Crew Week.
Maybe play some soccer too. I just got back into playing not too long ago.
Talking of being physical,
Yeah. Honestly, play
play
some
some
sports.
soccer.
Get off the couch.
Find a sport and play it.
Yep.
Do it. But you can be godly either way.
Yep.
Yep. All right.
We all
Well,
agree.
I think we did an all right job. What do you
I
guys think
think-
the chances are that we get somebody mad at us?
Probably. Yeah.
What's the chance?
Well, as long as we don't tweet it, tweet about it, then we're good.
That's a good point. We'll keep this episode off of Twitter.
Yeah.
There's a chance we
Then
said
we're
something. There's a chance we didn't cover all the bases here. So let us know if there's a base that's not covered, if you're mad, whatever.
Or if
we'll
you have
revisit it.
I was like, if you have other counterpoints or comments, then we'd like to hear,
If you are mad, don't tweet it at us and let's not start an outrage mob. Like, write it to us in something thoughtful and we'll respond thoughtfully and all that. So, as with all hot take segments on this show, we want to do it in a way that calms the fire and hopefully builds some unity and some clarity. That's the goal.
Yep.
So, I think we did an all right job, but
Hopefully.
I await listening back to this episode and thinking of all the things I wish I would have said. So, with that, it has been an episode of Three Brothers Talking. First one in a long time back in the same room.
Yes.
And I
It's
think
been
we did
fun.
all right.
I'm glad to be back in the room with you guys.
Absolutely. We will talk to you guys.
Catch you guys next time.